The old woman just lightly touched the pregnant woman's belly, but suddenly her face went pale with fright. She immediately pulled the husband aside, and quietly asked him whether his wife had shown any unusual signs since getting pregnant. The man thought about it and realized his wife's appetite had been strange since the pregnancy. His wife had never eaten eggs before, but now she could eat dozens of them in one sitting. He had always assumed it was just a pregnancy craving change, so he hadn't paid much attention. After hearing this, the old woman became even more convinced of her suspicion. She went on to ask the man whether his wife's eyesight had noticeably worsened recently, and whether she often buried herself under the covers in winter, sleeping for days at a time. The man was stunned after hearing this, and asked the old woman how she could possibly know all of this so clearly. The old woman told him straight out that what his wife was carrying in her belly was most likely a snake fetus. The moment he heard those words, the man flew into a rage. He accused the old woman of talking nonsense. Seeing that he had misunderstood, the old woman hurried to explain. When she had touched the pregnant woman's belly just now, she had felt at least a dozen heartbeats inside. On top of that, her family had raised snakes for generations and was very familiar with this kind of situation, so there was absolutely no chance she had gotten it wrong. But the whole thing sounded far too bizarre, and the man still refused to believe it. Seeing that he wouldn't listen, the old woman had no choice but to warn him to be careful. She also told the man about a legend that had long circulated in the village. Once someone carried a snake fetus, the snake would come back looking for its mate and offspring. When that day came, if they truly encountered the great serpent, there would be no one who could save him. Just then, the man's wife walked over and interrupted the two of them. That same evening, the man went about his usual routine of helping his wife bathe, but suddenly a sharp, putrid stench spread through the air. Through the thin gauze curtain, the man could vaguely make out a large snake coiled inside his wife's bathtub. He was scared so badly that he cried out on the spot. His wife immediately put on a look of great fear as well, watching as the snake prepared to slip away along the wall. The man quickly grabbed a hoe, intending to beat it to death, but his wife immediately blocked him. She insisted that the man must not harm that snake. The man was puzzled, so he leaned in closer to his wife to ask for an explanation, but the closer he got, the stronger that putrid stench became. It was only at this moment that real suspicion finally rose in the man's heart. First thing the next morning, he rushed off to find the old woman. The man wanted to buy some snake-repelling medicine from her. The moment the old woman heard that the snake had actually come back, her expression immediately turned grave. She said that snake had definitely returned specifically to wait for the snake fetus to be born. Once the snake fetus was successfully delivered, the snake would very likely treat the man as a source of nourishment. After saying this, she took out a bottle of realgar water and handed it to the man. She instructed him that he absolutely had to make his wife drink it before the moon turned red. But the moment the man heard that this substance might cause a miscarriage, he immediately showed reluctance. The old woman urged him not to be a fool. While the man was still hesitating, an angry mob of villagers suddenly showed up at his door. The villagers accused his wife of slaughtering nearly all of their sheep and chickens. They also said that when they saw the woman gnawing on a raw chicken, her eyes looked eerily similar to a snake's eyes. The matter quickly reached the village chief. In order to put the villagers' minds at ease, the village chief quickly presented the man with two options. Either take his wife to get a prenatal exam to prove that she wasn't carrying a snake fetus, or take his wife and leave the village. The man looked at the agitated crowd of villagers and thought back to all of his wife's strange behavior recently. In the end, he suggested taking his wife to a hospital in the city for an examination. He also proposed that they go ahead and deliver the baby there while they were at it. But the moment his wife heard this, she flatly refused. She said she didn't like the smell of hospitals. His wife also said she had a cousin who came from a well-known traditional Chinese medicine family. She suggested going to her cousin's place to deliver the baby. That place was on Baiyun Mountain. The moment the man heard the name Baiyun Mountain, his heart tightened instantly. Because that place had always been known as a spot where snakes were abundant, he suddenly recalled what the old woman had told him earlier. Reportedly, women who carried snake fetuses always ended up going to Baiyun Mountain to give birth. The man couldn't figure out what to decide for a moment, but his wife was already urging him to help her up and get ready to head out. By the time the two of them had just reached the cousin's doorstep, the man immediately caught a heavy, putrid stench. This smell was identical to the one that had come off his wife during her bath a few days ago. The cousin received them with great warmth, and had even specially prepared a table full of food. The cousin said it was prepared to give the pregnant woman proper nourishment. The man leaned in toward the table and instantly his whole body trembled with fright, because what was laid out on the table was whole, uncooked mice. The cousin explained that these were bamboo rats from the mountains, and that they were edible. But before he could finish speaking, the wife had already grabbed one of the bamboo rats and swallowed it whole. This scene once again left the man absolutely dumbstruck. Right after that, the cousin took out a bottle. He told the wife to drink what was inside when the red moon appeared that night. That way she would be able to deliver the baby smoothly. The moment the man heard the words red moon, his heart lurched, because this was exactly what the old woman had warned him about the day the snake fetus would be born. But the man had no solid evidence at this point. He didn't dare conclude what exactly his wife was carrying in her belly, so he could only watch helplessly as things continued to unfold. That evening, following the cousin's instructions, the wife drank what was in the bottle. Sure enough, before long her belly began showing signs of labor. At the same time, the moon in the sky slowly began to turn red. It was right then that the man suddenly noticed his wife's belly beginning to change. The skin was gradually becoming like that of a snake, and scales were even slowly growing across its surface. The cousin nearby continued to tend carefully to the laboring woman. Seeing this, the man suddenly came to his senses. He realized that the cousin and his wife seemed to be on the same side all along. The cousin then urged the man to hurry and go fetch the tools needed for delivery. But the man's mind was completely filled with all of his wife's bizarre behavior over these past days. He finally made up his mind he was going to abort this child that was not his own. So he quietly took out the realgar water the old woman had given him, and secretly mixed the realgar water into the the water prepared for his wife. But just as he was about to bring the Realgar water to his wife's lips, a sudden noise came from outside the door.